I've known Gary my whole life because he was my first cousin. Gary is a wonderful farmer. He really knows how to grow a crop well. Sometimes I'm envious of his ability. Gary understands the soils, he understands nutrient programs, he understands a lot of the different kinds of trees and rootstocks, and when you need to change from one kind of a tree to another kind of a tree to suit the farm well.
Well, I first met Gary between 25 and 30 years ago through Wayne County Farm Bureau. I always said us younger guys kind of stole a little bit from Gary because we'd sit back and learn from him, especially on lobby trips and so on. You know, he taught us a lot, whether he knows it or not. One thing I've learned is always be professional when you're dealing with folks who might be adversarial. Don't lower yourself to that level. You know, you want to leave on a good note. We may not all agree on everything, but let's at least have a conversation. And always be Gary's case, he's always a gentleman. And he takes the lobbying trips very seriously, okay? So a couple years ago, we're in DC, a few years ago now, and we're at the Capitol, we're up on the Hill lobbying. We're lobbying pretty hard that day, had a lot of appointments, but we wanted to stop for lunch real quick. Of course, the lunch rooms there at the House are so busy at noon, and we only had 20, 30 minutes. And so we get in there, get something to eat, and there's one line's a lot shorter than the others. So Gary jumps into that line. Well, it turns out that's for only staff members are supposed to go to that line. So he gets up there to the lady, and we're looking at our watches, and the lady says, "Sir, you don't belong in this line. You're not a staff member." So Gary, who's usually the most straight-laced guy, he's a churchgoer, he's everything. He says, "Well, have you ever heard of this Congresswoman, Mrs. Burkle from upstate New York?" And she says, "Well, yes, sir." And he says, "Well, I just started on her staff. I just don't have my badge with me today." But this lunch lady, she wasn't taking it. She says, "No, sir, you actually didn't. Get in the other line." And she made him, but that's how much Gary, he's always looking at his watch when we're lobbying and make sure we make that next appointment on time. And he takes it very seriously, and he does a great job when he's in Washington or in Albany.
Gary's very conservative. He always wants to be sure about what he's getting involved with, and sometimes it takes him a little while to make a decision, but when he lands, he does it perfectly. Gary's been very involved with Farm Bureau going back many, many years. I can remember what perked a little interest with a lot of us younger guys 40 years ago, maybe 41 years ago, at the Wayne County Farm Bureau annual banquet. Gary Orbaker won a 1978 Chevy pickup truck to drive for 1 year, and was a big hit because they came from a Ford family, and he won a Chevy, and he had to drive it.
He knows Farm Bureau's story. He understands it, understands the importance and the relevance of it. So he's great at selling memberships because he goes out there and explains it to people. And once they understand Farm Bureau and what it's all about, a lot of them join.
Gary's impacted agriculture in Wayne County tremendously. He's had great involvement with all the pertinent issues that needed to be resolved at the time and many times over the years. Gary's the kind of guy that we wanted on our side each and every step of the way. He is very involved with getting people in other areas of the state, because of his involvement with Farm Bureau, to all get on the same page at the same time for a common cause.
I don't think a lot of farmers realize how much better off they are in New York agriculture because of Gary Orbaker and the work he's done. You know, and that's not an exaggeration. I believe it was instilled into he and his brother Andy at a young age from their father that, you don't sit back and complain. You get involved. You invite these folks to your farm. Maybe give them some apples, visit with them, show them what you're doing. And then beyond your farm gate, when it comes to community, I know he's been on the town board for years. I believe he's a Mason. He's involved in his church and the community, way beyond the farm gate. And I believe he grew up with that, and I think I know he carries on that tradition of trying to help others, way beyond his own yard or even his own industry. So in agriculture and beyond, I think we could use a lot more Gary Orbakers out there, that's for sure.